We have local surgeon and author of the new book, Black Girls in White Coats, next on City Corner. Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson and welcome to City Corner. Well, there's a new book on the market. It's called Black Girls in White Coats, Black Female Doctors. And today I have the privilege and honor of having the author of that book in studio with me today. She's also a local oncologic breast surgeon. There we go. And I'm pleased to be welcomed by Dr. Jovita Oruwari.
Thanks so much, Sarah, for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, you've had a full day. You're a surgeon.
I am.
Your every day is totally packed. I appreciate your time being here. When I saw that you wrote this book and I saw the news about it and I went to the listing on Amazon, and I'm gonna disclose this from a personal standpoint, when I read just even the opening line, it touched me so deeply and emotionally. And I love that you have put together this book, taken and interviewed all these, spoke to different doctors to put it together. And so I'm so honored that you're here.
I'm honored to be here to talk about this project that kind of consumed me for the past couple of years.
So did it take you a couple of years to put together?
It took, it started during the pandemic, took a little over a year to complete.
And then put together. I want to, if it's okay, I'm going to read when the listing when you first go to it. Okay. And I'm not going to cry when I say this, but it's very touching, and I think it speaks to, and we'll talk about your inspiration for it. It says, your words, I once heard someone say, you cannot aspire to be something you have never seen. This book is not only for every little black girl out there who has dreamt of wearing a white coat and stethoscope, but also for all the little black girls that have not dreamt of it because they never thought it is possible. And that summarizes, and then we're looking at the cover and the back of your book. So, I mean, talk about the inspiration for this.
Ooh, I got a little emotional hearing that.
When you hear it, it's you.
Yeah, I mean,
you've written it, summarize that right there. So
it really does summarize the reason for writing the book. And there were just a few inciting factors. The main one was I switched hospitals from Mercy Hospital locally to SSM DePaul during the pandemic. And at the start of the pandemic, when there was just so much confusion about the virus, nobody knew what was going on, nobody knew, what we had to do. And then we were telling people not to come to the hospitals, and then the vaccines rolled out. And the community that I was serving at DePaul, mostly African-American community, were just so distrustful of the virus, the vaccine, the cure for it, all the recommendations, because we've got a long history of mistrust of the medical community with all of the experimentation, et cetera, that I'm not going to recount. But when I sat down with my patients one-on-one and talked to them and explained the reason and the rationale for the vaccine and the importance of it, I had like a 90% plus conversion rate of I don't want the vaccine to, okay, where do I get it? And I talked to my husband a lot about it. He's a psychiatrist, and just started thinking there was some value in people that look like you delivering a message. And I think that's what really made the difference. I don't think the message that I was delivering was any different than that my Caucasian counterparts were delivering. It's just that it was coming from me. So that was the first thing. The second was I've got a couple of patients now, maybe 2 or 3 patients now, Caucasian women whose adopted children are African American, would come to the office and see me. And on 2 occasions now, they've come back the next time with their children because they wanted their children to see me, to see someone that looked like them, to say, you can do this, you can be that. So all of that together with everything going on in the country with Black Lives Matter and all of that just kept me thinking. So I did some research and I thought that there'll be a value in a book like this. So I really wanted to try to encourage the next generation of kids to inspire them and let them know that they can do this, that this is definitely a possibility for them because they're not used to seeing people that look like them.
It's, I mean, it's like, it hits me on so many levels because I think back to just growing up and your first point about saying can you aspire, you know, you raised the question, can you aspire to be something that you've never seen, you don't see someone like you like, right? And so we see this a lot in sort of tech and healthcare, you know, and then it peels back the layers too when you're a woman, and then even in healthcare when you get into certain specialties, right? You know, and even from the patient standpoint, I hear time and time again, a patient will say, I'm looking for a Black doctor in this field or specialty. And there's none, in your state or your city. None. If you say, I want to find a ENT who is of color, there might not actually be any. Absolutely. And it sounds, you know, it sounds like it might be kind of like a wrong fact, but it is in fact correct.
No, it's true. It's very true.
Yeah. And you start off, I was looking at some of the stats you pulled, and you say, why this book is important, and you allude to a statistic from the Association of American Medical Colleges, and you say African American physicians make up only 5% of the total physician workforce, and then you say African American female physicians account for just under 3%. And you even go further to say currently with medical students, it's somewhere around 7%. So you've amazingly put together this book. I should note, and we'll show a graphic for the contributors. It's 60 contributors. You clearly know a lot of this 3% of the African American female physicians. Are they all across the country?
They're all across the country. No, a lot of them locally that I know, some people that I went to school with or trained with, and then a lot of them I met through social media. We're talking about social media earlier. You know, I've been very active. Actually, since the pandemic, I've been very active on Instagram, and I've met a whole lot of physicians who are on Instagram. You know, who would have thought it? And I just asked, and a lot of them said yes.
And that they would contribute. So let's talk about the contributions. So you have, I think it's about 60 contributors.
There are 59 plus me, 60, yes.
You make the 60.
I make 60.
And so we have some slides of just a few examples of them. So how did you sort of prompt them? Just write what you want? Or was it like, why did you get into medicine? What was it that you asked them?
So I approached them with the project and my goal for the project, which is to encourage young African-American girls to go into the health field, and the majority of them said, absolutely, this is such a great cause. And then I gave them a list of questions that they could either answer and send back to me, or I could interview them. And the questions basically was, why did you go into this field? Why do you think it's important for someone that looks like you to go into the field? What were your ups, what were your downs, you know? What was the most memorable, and then just kind of what are you doing now? Because I also wanted the girls to be able to see what was possible afterwards, you know, because sometimes the image of a doctor is this old fuddy-duddy white man, and none of us are old fuddy-duddies, you know. There are lots of really cool girls out there. So I wanted them to see that also, and that was also why I wanted them to include photos. A photo of you in your professional setting, and then a photo of you looking glamorous.
Yes. So I noticed that in some of them, which is, I think that's actually a really valid sort of point, and an interesting point, because it's, as you get older, you realize it's a profession, right?
Yes.
It's a career, but you still are who you are at heart as a person. But that's a good point to make. So when you got the responses back and you're editing this and putting it all together, was there anything that surprised you in the contributions, or not so much?
What surprised me the most was how similar all of our stories were. You know, I was talking to someone about this, saying how when you're going through medical school and you're going through residency, so much of that time is lonely. I mean, so much of it is lonely because you're coming out from high school where you are really smart, and then you go to college where you are really smart, and then you get to med school, and med school is hard. And in your mind, everyone's really smart and they are sailing through it, but it's hard for you. And you don't want to share it with everybody else because you don't want them to look at you as, what are they doing here? They don't belong here. They are obviously not going to make it. So after the fact, talking to all these girls, realizing their trials and tribulations and hard time they had passing some of the exams, etc., I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
A lot of us share the same ups and downs.
Yes,
you know?
yeah. That's really interesting. I mean, it's sad on the one hand that it couldn't have been back then cathartic to be open, and I understand that fear of wanting to share, but not wanting to feel that people would think you were somehow weaker or not equipped to complete it. But then that here you all are in your careers and had such similar experiences. And did you find was that sort of cathartic? Not cathartic, but how did that touch you in that way to think?
I mean, it really did touch me. I got very emotional during a lot of the stories, reading their stories and reading about some of the things that they went through. Because like you said, it would have been nice to know it back then so that we would have been there as support for each other. And, you know, I'm sure they had support. You know, for me, it was always my family. You know, my parents were extremely supportive. My husband, since I got married right at the start of residency, so he was very supportive. I went home crying many days. And many days I told him, I'm not going back, I'm not doing this again. And, you know, he supported me through it. And I don't know that I would have made it through without him, without my parents, my siblings. And I wish I knew that other people was going through that so that I could have been there for them.
I want to get into that more too about how much family plays a role in that for growing up. We're going to take a quick break. We've got the information there for you on the screen in case you want to order the book. We're going to throw that up really quickly. It's available on Amazon. It's also available on Dr. Oruwari's website right there. It spells out her name.
Yes.
.com. So it's available in both places. But do check it out. It's really accessible the way it's the book that it's put together. I think it's really great. But we're going to dig in some more about the book and just the hopes of having this out there for others to read. So we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. Stay with us.
What I love about St. Louis is the 79 unique neighborhoods nestled into 108 city parks, including Forest Park, which is actually larger than Central Park in New York, and of course, the beautiful Tower Grove Park where I'm at now. Oh, the St. Louis Blues. We've got the St. Louis Surge, two-time WBCBL champions. We've got Harris Stowe, WashU, St. Louis University, and of course, the 11-time World Series champion, St. Louis Cardinals. So come experience St. Louis.
Hey, boss. Okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure?
I said I'm fine.
Since I was little, it was only like me and my parents.
You think you created family out of characters?
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna take that and make it into a song.
Put me to bed, see you in the morning. With the frosted Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it. In my head, in my head, in my head. Where you at on the way out? In my head, in my head, in my head.
Hey, son.
Hey, Pop.
You can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me. Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome back to City Corner. Today we're talking with the author of Black Girls in White Coats, Black Female Doctors. It's a new book that's out on the market. And again, I'm joined in studio by Dr. Jovita Oruwari. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
So we were leaving off in the first segment. You've put this book together, have all these contributors who are different Black female doctors. They've all kind of shared their stories about getting into medicine. I wanted to ask you, you talked about the support your husband provided over the years and your family. That how important is, I asked you off camera,
Right.
is your family, or do you come from a family of doctors? You said healthcare.
Yes.
But how important sort of is that for family to the success rate of sort of Black doctors? Do you find that many who succeed in finishing medical school, pursuing medicine, come from families where there's some awareness, or no?
Actually, no. Actually, I think a lot of us just first-generation physicians. My mom's a nurse. So I've worked in healthcare all of my life, and trying to think. I have an uncle by marriage who's a physician in England. Other than that, not really. But growing up from a background of Nigerian family, you are either going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an architect, an engineer. There's just very few, professions. So when I declared that that's what I was going to be, there was, of course, overwhelming support, and they were going to do whatever they could do to make sure that I succeeded through it. So there was a whole lot of support from them. And yes, it's important whether you have a family that is in healthcare or not. I think that family support is important. What tends to happen is that having a family in medicine would help someone know that they can do it, as opposed to someone that's really who this book speaks to, the women or the girls that don't have people in the family who are in medicine who don't think that they can do it. Seeing all of these 59 other women who look like them would help to encourage them that they can do it.
And we should say one of these 59 women in the book, one of them stands out especially, and that's because one is your daughter. Is that correct?
That's right.
That's awesome.
That's
so
right.
She followed in mom's footsteps.
She did. She followed in mom's and dad's footsteps, and and that's really what I was saying. So for her, it was, we didn't know that she was going to do it. It was like a last minute game day decision for her. It was like through high school, okay, what are you going to do? What are you going to, I don't know. Not the last minute she decided. But what I have to say is that her guidance counselors in school did not think that she should pursue a career in medicine. I mean, she came home and told us that, and she didn't take it to heart because she's like, can you believe what this person told me? And we all kind of laughed about it. But imagine if she didn't have us. She wouldn't know that. She would have just listened to him. Say, okay, well, I guess I can't do it. But she didn't, and she went ahead and did what she wanted to do. And she's a brilliant girl. She's very smart. She went into the 6-year medical school right out of high school, and she's finished now. She's doing her anesthesiology residency, and she's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You bring up a really good point, which I think really touches a lot for children of color too, which is discouragement. Just that one act alone of a guidance counselor, a college counselor saying, this might be out of your reach.
Right.
It's detrimental.
It's
Detrimental.
Yeah,
it can literally change the course of somebody's life to think,
most definitely.
I'm not good enough. I only make, and I think the one thing I was going to ask you if that question always, which is what you know now, if you knew then. I have a lot of those as I've gotten older. And I think what's so interesting is of all these people I've met who are doctors, professionals, they weren't all the straight A magna cum laude students.
No.
They were students who could have had C's, B's,
Right.
Just average, but they, persisted, or they had access to continue to go. But sometimes when you hear that one line of, I think this might be out of reach for you, or I'm not sure if that would be your strength, it could change your course. But in the case of your daughter, she knew because she grew up with you both as doctors, both her parents as doctors.
She did, and that's really important to stress to any young people listening today. Yes, the grades are important. Grades, I mean, because that's the first thing they look at is the grades. But it's not all about grades, you know. As a physician, they want to know that you are human, that you're a person, that you have empathy. And so there are so many other things that could be going for you. And, you know, there's an interview process as well. So they interview you and they weigh those things. If your grades are not the best, but you shine in all of the, I mean, you're doing volunteer activity, you've shown interest, you've done some research, those things will carry higher weight than your grades. And, you know, exams are just exams.
Yes.
They don't tell anyone really your ability.
Right.
It's just that's the best way that we have right now of, you know, evaluating people. So just students should keep that in mind as they aspire to become.
Yes. And I think you're alluding to a good point, and I think you know, with your book does this too, which is the bigger picture of this too. I mean, you're sort of alluding to compassionate care, right? Which is you can be as smart as possible, and from a sort of scientific standpoint of what you've learned to get your MD, nailed it. But if you have a lack of empathy or compassionate care, you can disconnect with your patients and actually make the bigger picture of healthcare worse, right?
You can.
And I think that's what, you know, you hint at with all of this coming together, which is the reason it's so important to have doctors look and reflect like the population is that's how we communicate with people indirectly and directly.
It is. Yeah, you got to make a connection with your patients. You know, you have to, there's always one little thing that connects you, whether it's, you know, my 87-year-old patient is a gardener and I garden, or they run and I run. Just some little connection makes such a big difference.
Yeah, no, and I do want to point out too with your book, you've covered all different specialties too. I mean, I think with some of them, an oncologist, obstetrician, gynecologist, ophthalmologist, I mean, dermatologist. You tried to cover.
Plastic surgeons. Orthopedic surgery. That's, just about everyone.
For anyone at home questioning, there are Black female doctors in all specialties, and they're in this book. I think it's great that you've put this together. It's funny, when we were communicating about this interview, you said, well, check out my Instagram page, and I did. And on top of you being here, being a surgeon, you are fit, and we pulled a few to put up there. You're this like kind of fitness guru, and no, I think it's great. It's so inspirational, you know. And you look at your Instagram page, and there you are, and you look at it, and I'm like, this woman is like Wonder Woman, you know. But I know there's a real story behind it. You know, I know it's not. And it's your Instagram is very inspirational, but then I know it's not always been easy for you. And I was going to, you know, before we wrap things up, I mean, what has been, you know, something that somebody doesn't know about you in that sense of the challenges that you faced as a Black female doctor? Ooh. You know, and I know that can't be sort of summarized, but I think when you see you, you're like the picture of success, but I know there's more to that.
So it took me 10 years following training in my program in Newark, New Jersey, to actually go back and be able to go back into the building, because I had PTSD from training. I mean, horrible PTSD. I just did not, even once I graduated and finished, I'm never going back. I want to see any of these people ever again. That's how traumatized I was. I mean, there were some great people, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, I mean, it was a pretty malignant program in that I was probably one of maybe two or three Black females. And we were not always treated kindly. I don't, it's hard, but
it's hard.
it was, and this is just coming from colleagues and my, you know, supervisory physicians, just people that did not think that I should be there as a Black woman pursuing surgery. It was always, you might be a better fit for a different specialty, not surgery. But like you said, I persisted because I had the support of my family who felt I could do it. And I also felt that I could do it more times than I felt that I couldn't do it. So I was able to make it through. And just really about, you know, being persistent and trying to cancel out the noise and just believe in yourself.
Yes.
And, you know, then you get it also from patients, where you walk into a patient's room with a group of students who happen to be Caucasian, and the patient turns to their Caucasian males and call them doctor and not you. So as a Black woman in the hospital, you're either the nutritionist or the therapist or the nurse. You're always going to be anything but the doctor.
I appreciate you sharing that, and for what it's worth, I don't think 10 years, like the amount of pain can bring in this moment, you know, kind of full reconciliation in that sense, but that your experiences in writing this book of channeling that energy, that positive energy and hope to so many young girls. Because just even by someone not only seeing this interview, but searching for the book or being on Amazon, Black Doctor, that will come up. Your story, all those years, everything that you've put together, and all that your contributors will inspire a whole other generation. I know it will. And so I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I know you were so busy.
No, that's okay. I mean, I'm always open to come out and talk about this because, like I said, it was a passion project. It's something really important to me and something that I hope will make an impact in future generations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. So it's getting a little emotional in here. So great interview. Thank you so much. We have information. Please check this out. It's a great book. You can read it on Kindle as well. Black Girls in White Coats, Black Female Doctors. It's by Dr. Jovita Oruwari. It's available on Amazon, as I mentioned, both in print and Kindle, or you can head to her website right there and order it directly as well. And you said perhaps get an autographed copy.
Right, if you order it through my website, you can get an autographed copy, and then the Audible version should be coming out probably by October.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you at home for watching, and keep it right here on STL TV, Experience St. Louis.